And also launching on October 27th, we have Copan, the Dying City, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 60 to 180 minutes to play. And this one is a Euro game where players are going to be placing their workers out on the board to perform different actions. And one thing that I really like about this, and I think looks really interesting, is that your worker is actually the cylinder here, and it's going to have an icon on both sides. And when you go to place or move that worker out on the board, you're going to be placing it on one of these triangle locations. And each of these is going to be associated with a different action out on the board, and I'll go through those in a minute. But what's really interesting about the way that these work is that you can go ahead and move your worker to a different location if you want to on your following turn. But if you keep that worker at that specific location, it's actually going to go around this circle here. And when you first place the worker, it goes on the top spot on that circle, and it's going to cost you whatever resource is indicated there. But if you decide not to perform a different action on your following turn and you leave your worker there, then it's going to rotate around to this next spot on that circle. And if you placed your worker with this side up, it means that you'll be able to take any resource of your choice. But if you placed your worker with this side up, it means that you're going to get 2 victory points. And if you leave your worker there a second time, it's going to rotate again to this ×2 spot, which means that you're going to get whichever bonus you just got, but you're going to get it twice. And I just think that's a neat mechanism that I haven't seen in any other Euro games, and it's little details like this that make games stand out and differentiate themselves from other games out on the market. But what are the different actions that players can perform? And the first one is to create an embassy in one of the many cities. And this action location in the top left of the board represents some different cities, and players can pay a cost to put their token at one of the cities, and that's going to grant them access to the special ability that that city provides. It's also going to grant a one-time bonus for doing that. Or you can visit the action location at the top of the board, and this is going to allow you to gain tokens of different resources, and you'll be able to use these resources to increase your resource generation of that particular resource, which is going to allow you to build up a little engine that you'll be able to manage throughout the game. Players will each have their own player board to keep track of the resources that they currently have on hand, but these boards can also be extended by adding more space to your warehouse, allowing you to store more of those resources later in the game. The players can also visit the right-hand side of the board where you can purchase different cards. And these cards can grant you permanent or one-time use abilities, or they can also give you different scoring opportunities that, if you are able to meet certain requirements, will grant you extra victory points at the end of the game. And then in the bottom left side of the board, there is an action space that has a couple main uses. It's going to grant you some cards, but then it also allows you to move your priests up the staircase of the central temple, which will kind of work as a multiplier that will gain you more victory points at the end of the game. But the way that this action space works is that you'll be able to choose one of these 3 rows, and if you're choosing the top row, you're going to be getting more cards and less steps up those staircases, but if you choose the bottom row, then you're going to be getting less cards and more steps up the staircase. And the reason that you want to collect these cards is that if you get certain sets of particular colors, you'll be able to trade those in for different pieces of your Jade Mask, and you're going to be piecing together this Jade Mask as you progress throughout the game, and covering up different icons on the mask will allow you to get those instant benefits, and if you fully complete it, it's worth 10 victory points at the end of the game. And the final action space located at the bottom of the board is a really interesting one, because this one actually allows you to combo certain actions together, because each of these cards is going to have 3 different actions on them that can be unlocked if you perform a particular action out on the board. Of course, these come at a cost to gain, but then you have the potential of cascading your actions together later in the game. And throughout the game, players will also find opportunities to gain tokens and place them out on the 4 different corners of the main temple. And whenever you do that, you're going to be able to gain the resource of the token that you placed, but also you'll be able to gain the resources of any of the orthogonally adjacent tokens. Each round, you're also going to be rolling the event die, and then you're going to match that icon with the current event card. And then it's going to activate whichever effect is outlined on the card for that particular icon. These cards can switch up and change throughout the game, so even if you roll the same value on the die, you can actually get a different outcome. And these can have all sorts of effects that can affect the players or the main play area, and can even permanently block out action spaces for the rest of the game. And the game continues like this, with players building up their engine of cascading actions, abilities, and resource generation, and then using all those to transfer into victory points. And the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game.